Adanna's wedding to Obinna was the happiest day of her life. As she stepped into her new home in Umuaka, she marveled at the grand yet ancient family house. Elders and villagers whispered blessings, but some exchanged wary glances. Her mother-in-law, Mama Neka, welcomed her warmly but clutched a small wooden box tightly. That night, as she and Obinna lay in bed, she noticed him staring at a gold ring, its surface carved with strange symbols. "It's been in my family for generations," he said, slipping it onto his finger. A shiver ran through Adanna as a sudden wind rattled the windows. Adanna awoke to hushed voices outside their room. She tiptoed to the door and pressed her ear against it. "The time is near," a deep voice murmured. "Obinna must be prepared." She hurried back to bed before Obinna stirred. The next morning, she questioned him about the conversation, but he dismissed her concerns with a smile. Determined to understand, Adanna sought out Mama Neka, who was kneeling before the wooden box. "Mama, what is this ring?" she asked. The older woman stiffened, then sighed. "My dear, some truths are better left buried." But Adanna wasn't convinced. That night, she dreamed of shadowy figures circling her husband, their eyes glowing like embers. During a village festival, an old man named Boba Ife pulled Adanna aside. "You must leave before it is too late," he warned. "That ring is not a blessing but a curse." Her heart pounded. "What do you mean?" she asked. He hesitated, then whispered, "Every 10 years, the ring demands blood. A life must be taken, or the spirits will claim more than just one soul." Panic gripped her. She turned to find Obinna smiling at her, oblivious to the dark truth she had just uncovered. Adanna began noticing strange occurrences in the house, doors creaking open by themselves, murmured voices at night, and cold drafts even when the windows were shut. One evening, she found Obinna sitting alone in the dark, his eyes vacant. "Are you okay?" she asked hesitantly. He turned to her with a blank expression. "They are speaking to me," he murmured. Fear clutched Adanna's heart. Who was speaking to him? And what were they saying? Determined to uncover the truth, Adanna sought out Boba Ife again. He revealed that many years ago, a deal had been struck between Obinna's ancestors and the spirits of the land, prosperity and longevity in exchange for a sacrifice every decade. "You must act fast, child," he urged. "Or you will lose him forever." Adanna shuddered at the weight of the revelation, but she knew one thing for certain: she had to find a way to break the curse. One evening, while Obinna was out, Adanna explored the house and stumbled upon a locked room at the end of the corridor. A strange energy radiated from behind the door. Using a spare key she had found, she unlocked it and gasped at what lay inside: old scrolls, ritual artifacts, and a blood-stained altar. Her heart pounded as she realized this was where the sacrifices had taken place. A sudden chill filled the air, and a whisper snaked into her ear: "You should not be here." Confronting Mama Neka, Adanna demanded answers. The older woman's face was lined with sorrow as she confessed. "I lost my own husband to this curse. I tried to stop it, but the spirits are relentless." She placed a trembling hand on Adanna's. "You must find another way, before it is too late." But what other way existed? Could the spirits be bargained with, or was the only escape through blood? Adanna returned to the forbidden room, searching through the ancient texts. One passage caught her eye. It spoke of a way to break the pact through a ritual that had been attempted only once before. The catch: the sacrificer must willingly renounce the ring and face the spirits themselves. But no one had ever survived such an attempt. Could Obinna do it? And if not, was there another way? Obinna began experiencing strange changes. His skin burned where the ring touched, and his eyes sometimes glowed faintly in the dark. Adanna feared he was becoming something else, something not entirely human. She pleaded with him to remove the ring, but he couldn't. "It won't let me," he admitted, his voice hollow. The spirits were tightening their grip. Adanna sought out the village priestess, Mama Ifenanya, who knew of the ritual that could sever the connection. It is dangerous, she warned. If done incorrectly, the spirits will take you both. Despite the risks, Adanna knew she had no choice. They had only weeks left before the sacrifice was due. Time was running out. The house seemed to pulse with a dark energy. Shadows twisted unnaturally in the corners, and voices echoed from the walls. Mama Neka grew weaker by the day, as if the spirits were draining her life. Obinna's condition worsened, his sleep was filled with night terrors, and he spoke in voices not his own. Adanna prepared for the ritual, praying they were not already too late. On the night of the full moon, Adanna and Mama Ifenanya drew the sacred circle in the courtyard. Obinna stood in the center, trembling, as ancient words were chanted. The air grew thick with an otherworldly presence. Suddenly, the ground trembled, and the spirits emerged, furious at the betrayal. You cannot break the pact, they roared. The battle for Obinna's soul had begun. As the ritual intensified, spectral figures materialized, their eyes burning with fury. Obinna groaned, his body writhing in pain as the ring glowed like molten fire. He is ours, the spirits howled. Adanna stood firm, reciting the incantations Mama Ifenanya had taught her. The priestess threw sacred herbs into the flames, and the spirits recoiled, their forms flickering. But they were not so easily banished. Mama Neka, barely able to stand, staggered into the circle. Take me instead, she cried. The spirits hesitated, their anger shifting. You dare defy the bloodline, they thundered. Obinna gasped, his strength waning. Adanna realized the spirits were drawn to willing sacrifice. Could this be the key? She clutched Mama Neka's hands. No, there has to be another way, she whispered, her heart breaking. The scrolls had mentioned an ancient name, the true name of the entity binding the family. If spoken with conviction, it could sever the tie. Mama Ifenanya, do you know the name? Adanna asked desperately. The priestess nodded, her face pale. It is dangerous, child. If spoken incorrectly, the curse may become stronger. But Adanna had no choice. With the spirits closing in, she took a deep breath and uttered the forbidden name. A deafening shriek filled the air as the ring burned against Obinna's finger. He screamed, clutching his hand as the metal melted and twisted. The spirits wailed, their forms distorting. No. The pact cannot be broken. The wind howled, and darkness threatened to swallow them whole. But the ring, no longer bound, cracked apart, sending a shockwave through the night. As dawn broke, the spirits had vanished. Obinna lay unconscious but alive, his breathing shallow. Mama Neka wept, relief washing over her. The house, once filled with whispers and shadows, felt lighter. Adanna cradled Obinna's hand, now free of the cursed ring. We did it, she murmured. But deep inside, she feared, had they truly ended the curse, or merely delayed its return? Word spread through Omoka of the broken curse. The elders gathered, their faces grim. The spirits do not forgive easily, one warned. You have defied them, and they may seek another vessel. Adanna refused to believe it. Then we must ensure no one else falls victim, she declared. She and Obinna vowed to destroy all remnants of the ritual, burying the past once and for all. Just as life seemed to return to normal, a village boy ran to Adanna in terror. I found this near the shrine, he stammered, holding out a familiar golden ring, perfectly intact. Adanna's blood ran cold. Impossible, she whispered. Obinna clenched his fist. It's not over. The ring had chosen again. Determined to end the cycle, Adanna and Obinna sought out Baba Ife. You must destroy it where it was forged, the old man advised. With a small group, they journeyed deep into the forest, to the cave of the ancestors. Shadows lurked in the corners, and the air was thick with whispers. "This is where it began," Baba Ife said. "And here, it must end." Inside the cave, ancient carvings lined the walls, depicting the first blood sacrifice. The air was dense with an unseen force. Adanna held the ring over the sacred fire. "We reject this curse," she declared. As the flames licked the metal, the ground trembled, and the spirits roared in rage. "You cannot unmake what has been bound," they bellowed. A force pulled Obinna toward the fire, his eyes glazed. "The bloodline must continue," the spirits chanted. Adanna screamed his name, but he didn't respond. "Fight them," she pleaded. With a final effort, Obinna reached into the flames and grasped the ring. A blinding light exploded outward, and the spirits howled in agony. The ring cracked, and a deep wail echoed through the cave. The spirits' hold shattered, their energy dispersing into the darkness. Obinna collapsed, the curse lifted. Silence filled the cave, followed by a soft breeze, the first sign of peace in generations. They returned to the village, weary but victorious. Mama Neka embraced them both, tears streaming down her face. "It is truly over," she whispered. Adanna nodded. For the first time in decades, there were no whispers in the night, no unseen forces lurking in the shadows. The family was free. With the curse broken, the land of Umuaka flourished. Crops thrived, and the village knew peace. The elders, once fearful, acknowledged Adanna and Obinna as the ones who had freed them. "You have changed history," Baba Ife said solemnly. "May the spirits never return." Adanna and Obinna chose to forge a new path, teaching their children the truth so the darkness would never return. The village honored their bravery, passing down their story as a warning: never make a pact with forces beyond understanding. Years later, as Adanna watched her son play near the family home, a sudden gust of wind sent a shiver down her spine. The past was gone, but some fears never truly faded. "Mama," the boy called, holding up an old trinket. "What is this?" Adanna's heart skipped. It was a ring, rusted and dull, yet eerily familiar. Had they truly ended the curse, or had the spirits simply bided their time? Adanna took the ring from her son, staring at it long and hard. "It's nothing," she said, forcing a smile. But deep inside, a dreadful thought took root. Evil never truly dies, it only waits. That night, Adanna dreamed of the cave again, of the spirits watching, waiting. A whisper curled around her ear. "The bloodline still stands." She awoke with a gasp, clutching her chest. Had they broken the curse, or merely delayed it? Adanna knew the truth: each generation had a choice. The cycle could only return if someone accepted it. Holding the rusted ring, she walked to the riverbank and cast it into the depths. "Let the past remain buried," she murmured. The water swallowed it whole. With one final glance at the silent sky, she turned away, hoping the spirits would never rise again.